Let me again thank the management of the university for inviting me to share my thoughts and my views on some national issues. A lot of the things I would say will be watered down by the fact that there is nothing I have said now that they don't have said in the past. There are just new words or different words on the same issue. And I usually say to people that this is a country where we can do anything and get away with it, unless you have nobody in government who can protect you. If you do, then you will not be harassed. But let me say to you that I'm very impressed with the university. My assumption is that both lecturers and students are physically fit. You know, they live here. The assumption is that as you run the 3 or 4 floors every day, you don't need to do any exercise at home. You just finish one, or you need to do one here. When you get the documents, you will see the initial argument of whether I'm good at debate or not. How many of you participated in secondary school debates? And actually there will be one here because I've always disagreed with your professor. What are the reasons for the national crisis? I've heard very strong views that nobody was born in England. Nobody. And nobody was also born in England. It is a system that creates either a bad leader or a good leader. At one time, maybe heard the view that there is no system in Nigeria. Somebody said, no, and that is correct. That there is a system in Nigeria. The problem is that the system is not working. But if you look at the system in Nigeria, it's so frustrating that you want to assume that it's not. And you ask yourself, what kind of country do we have that we are blessed by natural resources? All over the country, all over. In the north, in the south, in the east. And we're doing nothing but just deal with one item, oil. The monocrop economy. So, we will start by knowing that this is a university campus, and I will all agree or disagree on our different positions on issues affecting the country. Some of you, and I assume that the university may be coming from a conservative background, some of you will have a conservative view, take it from both religious angle, God loved us, we have had this bad leader. Nigeria is the most hopeful country in the world. That's why Abiola's campaign slogan was Hope 93, right? Yes. Because you have always hoped that if I make it a bad leader, don't worry, 4 years, then you go, and you see how he will suffer. Then I made it able to persuade the system to bring him back. Don't worry, another 8 years. Before he wakes up, 8 years is finished. And you don't take into account how much resources that I mentioned would have wasted for those number of 8 years, which would have produced as many good Pan-African universities as possible. Or even if it doesn't, we have afforded our children the opportunity to be properly educated. Now we have a country where children and teachers write the same exam and neither the teacher nor the students. But let me say clearly that the topic is not mine. This topic was chosen by your faculty, actually. And I just have to deal with it. And in that choice, again, I'm left with the assumption that virtually everybody here is a Christian. That's the assumption of the choice. To your thanks, it can only happen in the Bible, not in the Quran. You have seen such a quotation in the Quran. So my assumption is that either everybody here is a Christian, or that the Muslims who are here don't mind discussing the Christian topic. And if you're good with the Bible, most of us have learned the Bible, those of you who actually practice Christianity for the sake of asking God to come down. Well, Muslim Christians in Nigeria, because economic realities persuade us to be Christians. And it's not really, that's where I would also disagree. I'm sure it's that because and mine is very scientific. I have been to England, I've been to America, severally as speaker, as governor, and I've been to Venice, wonderful place. And I walked into the church, I'm a Catholic, and nobody, just corpses Our bodies of bishops and others have been embalmed for ages, and I ask, where are the worshippers? And they say, when the economy is working, nobody comes to call God. You call God only when you need to solve your problem. When the problems have been solved, you say the solution was scientific and not religious. So where you have religion, there are two continents where you have the highest level of religion. Where and where? And where? Not Asia. South America. That's why they are competing for the best people in the Catholic Church. Because if the Catholic Church is not careful and they break away, then you begin to go down. Between the African continent and the South American continent, you will see the number of persons who worship God and the number of priests that they have produced. Now, in Ireland, where we used to have the whole country as Catholics, what's the story? They have turned the Catholic Church into what? Warehouses and centers for business. That's because the economy is working. Now the economy is coming down, everybody is gravitating back towards God. So I always believe that that's my interpretation of reality. That reality is informed by the social existence of man. So when you hear to your thanks, O Israel, it also gives you a historical context to the fact that protest is also an offshoot of inadequacies in society, right? If everything was working for the Israelis, they would not have gone to the king to say we need it. So I'll start from there. Having said that this topic was chosen by you, and I'm just going to speak to the topic. I'll address the topic by looking at the historical context of the quote from which the topic is taken. That should lead us very quickly into the brief overview of the historical context of our own nation. Then I will discuss the concept of democracy and governance as it relates to our own democratic space. I will conclude by discussing the security challenges we face as a nation, and will share my thoughts with you on some of the ways that we will be able to address our security and governance issues. I will hopefully leave behind some hypotheses which faculty here can interrogate, and maybe take forward in a manner that will give us clearer insights into what we ought to do to deepen our nation's democracy and also guarantee the security of our people. Your thanks, O Israel. This story of Israel's revolt against Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, in 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 16, provides the basis for this popular saying. After the death of King Solomon, the Israelites from the other 10 tribes, apart from the tribe of Judah, came to Rehoboam, and Solomon's son, and the new king, to complain about the oppression of his father and the need to review the relationship between the monarchy and the people. The request was made in peace, and clearly the people were open to negotiate new terms for the state of Israel. But the king was not open to discussions and promised the people even greater oppression. But the people had been oppressed for too long and therefore revolted, taking their destiny in their own hands and disowning the leadership. So when the framers of today's topic said to your tents, O Nigerians, is it already a presupposition of a dissatisfaction among Nigerians or a desire for a splitting of our nation? I will share my interpretation of this topic later on in this paper. But it may be that the organizers' view of current happenings across the country are aligning with the desire expressed in some circles for a rethinking of Nigeria's existence as a nation. I have very clear views on this. I will not hesitate to say that there is value in our number and strength in our diversity. Is that not true? Well, should we die with that number and diversity? Which we can and should explore for the better. But there are historic reasons for this continuous dissatisfaction with the way we are, the Nigerian story. Without attempting to reconstruct the story of Nigeria's amalgamation, it makes sense to situate our early beginnings. A collection of different people, varied in tongue, culture, and outlook. Apart from the fact that we are black, we have different ways to behave. Separate from the way I behave as an Equatorial man, is it not? Completely. So it's a lot easier for the Hausas to go as a group, for the Fulanis to go as a group, for the Yorubas to go as a group, and for the Igbos to go as a group. Why compel me, an Equatorial man who does not have a business with you, to be part of a country called Nigeria? The issue of population does not amount to anything because there's a country called St. Helena off South African coast that is 5,000 persons. So Equatorial as a nation can become a nation of its own. So So the British had no business compelling the small communities and entities that they met in this part of Africa to become a country. They've done it, so what do we do? Come see how to pull ourselves and see if we can actually manage to form this country. The problem is we need to determine, which it did not, on what basis that we are going to form that country. And if we don't, I've told members of the National Assembly to bring to the River State for a constitutional amendment. If you don't get it right now, the protest will continue. There's nothing you can do to stop the protest until we get it right. And the only way to get it right is not to amend the constitution, to allow all the entities, even if they are a minority group in the Igbo land, let us hear the voice of everybody so that we can frame a proper constitution that protects the rights of all Nigerians anywhere you are. Then you can say, I am a Nigerian. So, I've said in the beginning, each of these groups later will be beaten. And if you have read your history, you know that in the beginning we were not one country. And Britain is not just as a country. They related with it. You had as independent nations. You had the touch, and I said that the relationship is vertical, not horizontal. There was no organ. Where it was any. The Oba of Benin never got one to go into the GT. So the relationship was between Benin people and Britain, just as much as it was between Igbo people and when they came to Benin, it was between them and Benin. They never said the Oba of Lagos is our king, we'll go to him first before you can get with us. There was their vertical relationship as opposed to horizontal relationship. Even the Britain related independently. The colony of Lagos, the Oil Rivers Protectorate, and then also the Southern and Northern Protectorate. Unfortunately, the fusing of these protectorates was forced and fraught with guarded suspicion by the elite of the various groupings. The debate of whether Nigeria is a nation of willing or strange bedfellows, which one are we? A nation of willing partners or strange bedfellows? You're not a good person. Anybody you hear that say, I'm in between. There is no middle course to yes and no. It's either yes or no. So anytime you see somebody say, I'm neither here nor there, then you should always be ready to take a position.